Really excited to bring in Secretary of State Adrian Fontes, who's joining us for this segment right now. And the reason we wanted you here, Lauren, you just talked to the Secretary yesterday.
I did. We had a great
Um,
conversation.
it's such a fascinating topic. Mail-in voting. We have been talking about this for years now, ever
hmm
since the 2020 election, and it seems like the last 24 hours, it's just exploded as an issue. Let's bring in the Secretary of State right now. First off, how you doing? Thanks for joining us.
I'm doing well. Very excited to be here. Thank you for having me, Lauren. Good to see you again.
Nice to see you again.
So, let's get started with today, because I know you guys talked yesterday. You brought a story to our viewers yesterday about this. Today, I feel like the new here. We saw the press secretary say that they are going to work with Congress. That's their hope, is to work with Congress on this, because yesterday it was all about the executive order part of this.
hmm
So I'm trying to figure all of this out right now. Secretary, how do you make of what's been going on the last 48 hours on this issue?
Look, I think that there's a lot of misunderstanding that's going on, and much of it has been perpetuated by the same conspiracy theories and nonsense that we've been hearing for years and years and years with no proof. And unfortunately, what this does is it erodes the confidence that folks have in the good neighbors that we have who actually run our elections in county recorders' offices, in county election departments, the folks who come in once every couple of years and actually run the polling places, the folks who will come in temporarily and work in the warehouses. These are the people who run our elections. They're people just like you and me, and they've been lied about and they've been misrepresented, and their work has been betrayed by folks with zero evidence of any wrongdoing. And it hurts our democracy. It hurts our confidence in our fellow citizens. And that's the biggest corrosive force that we've got going on right now. All of the rest of it is just, it's just sort of the peripheral, well, what do we do about it? And I think a lot of the misunderstandings can be swept away because they're not that, like, there's no real problems with our elections. We do a pretty doggone good job. We've been doing it for a long time. And it's those folks, our neighbors, are the ones who actually do the hard work. And I hate to see their good name tarnished the way it has been over the last couple of years.
And Mr. Secretary, we also had the conversation yesterday of just how popular mail-in voting is here in Arizona. We have done this for quite some time here in the state. Tell us a little bit about its popularity here within Arizona.
Yeah, well, just to go back a little bit further, mail-in voting first started during the Civil War. That's how long we've been doing this sort of thing. But in Arizona, no excuse, absentee voting or mail-in voting, as you say, and we call it. That started in abundance under Governor Fife Symington back in early '90s, and that has grown and grown and grown. In fact, in the mid-aughts, around 2006, 7 or 8, more or less, it became so popular that the old method where you had to send in a postcard every time you wanted your ballot sent back to you, we did away with that. And we created what was called the permanent early voting list, where once you signed up, you just stayed on the list. And you know why? Because counties were spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on postage back and forth because this was just so popular. And it's just grown and grown ever since. And Arizonans love to do this. And by the way, I think it's really important to tell like the whole story. This was originally a Republican project promoted by Republican elected officials, and Republicans really won the day and maintained a lot of power politically here in Arizona using successfully ballot by mail. Most of those processes and procedures, while being improved upon, are still in place. And we're still doing better and better. So as popular as it is, I don't understand why anybody would want to get rid of it.
And just to reset the stage here of what we're talking about, President Trump, he put out this tweet yesterday saying, let's get rid of mail-in voting. I'm putting out an executive order. Talk to reporters about it. Executive order is going to be written to eliminate mail-in voting. The question then becomes can you actually do that on an executive order, or does Congress have the power? Do the states have the power? You're obviously in charge of voting in our state, so I think you'd have an opinion on that. But I want to put you a little bit on the spot on this and just clarify. If the president does sign an executive order doing away with mail-in voting, would you follow that executive order in our next election?
If the president issues an executive order that is unconstitutional, I will tell him, as I've stated, to pound sand and then I will ask the Attorney General to sue him. This is not the purview of the president. He cannot change the law on his own. That's not how our constitutional republic, our federal republic works. The power to run elections rests in these states. The time, place, and manner of the elections is clearly stated in Article 1, Section 4 of the Constitution. Go read it. The first paragraph lays it out. Now, Congress does then have the power to impact that. We've got the Voting Rights Act, the Help America Vote Act, and a lot of these other sorts of things. But that has to go through the regular process. And I think that's one of the reasons why the White House backed down from its bluster yesterday, because they got checked on their nonsense. The nonsense was the president said he's just going to change it. And he flat out said that states were an agent of the federal government, which we all know is not true. And, he had to back down because he was flat wrong. Now, if they do want to make some amendments and change some of the processes, that's fine, but they're going to have to go through the regular ways that you make laws in the United States of America. But I can tell you right now, Arizona, and I would imagine its congressional delegation aren't going to be too happy either, because guess what? They all got elected. David Schweikert and Andy Biggs and Paul Gosar got elected by ballot by mail. Donald Trump got elected to be president here in Arizona by ballot by mail votes. That's the way that it works here in Arizona, and it works very well. So I'm kind of I'm kind of tired of answering the same old nonsensical arguments that never come with any backup. Okay, and really more so. I'll say this to be very, very clear. It is surprising, in fact, a little shocking to me, that there are no states' rights conservatives, folks who believe in bottom-up local control, who are sounding out against this. This is a federal takeover of what is very traditionally and constitutionally a state function. It is not within the purview of the federal government to make the rules. That's why we do it 50 different ways, and the territories do their own thing too. So I'm a little concerned that there's a lot of people who are being silent on this for political reasons when their principles tell them otherwise.
Oh, politics is always fun and interesting. Secretary, you're obviously a Democrat, so I know where you land on the Senate audit that took place here with the cyber ninjas. But I think something that we can all get behind from that audit that happened, and I can already see on your face you disagree with me where I'm going with this. But I think something we can all get behind is it really pulled back the curtain on how signature verification works. I didn't know a lot about signature verification. I was actually blown away to find out that someone looks at my signature. I have the sloppiest signature in the entire world. I mean, I have to fill out my kids every single day. Like we get a note home from the school about how my kid did. I mean, it is just a line at the most. And that's pretty much what I do on everything. So I'm blown away that people actually look at it. But I also think that if you're a skeptic, I can understand how you'd say, well, that's how you cheat the system. You just put a little line. Come on, you're really gonna someone's really gonna call. I mean, someone could put a line. I'm gonna put it out there right now. Someone could put a little line next to my name. I think it'd get by.
Well, here's the thing. How do you get to the point where the signature ends up on that envelope in the first place? We do the same thing that all of the other states do, but in different ways. We have 3 different buckets of how we run our elections. First and foremost, our voter registration bucket. We go through a whole set of exercises under the National Voting Rights Act and make sure that the folks who are supposed to be getting ballots are the ones that are getting ballots in the mail. You only get a ballot mailed to you at valid residential addresses, and there's a whole checklist of stuff that gets you on there through the voter registration system and other stuff. Then we have sort of the ballot delivery and retrieval system, whether that's at the polling place, whether it's in early voting by mail or otherwise, right? We've got that system in the mix there. Signature verification is just one tiny little piece of that. Then on the third bucket, we have our tabulation and certification processes. So when you talk about one individual issue like signature verification, and you say, you know what, I can cheat that system. There are so many different checks and balances all the way through this process that you would have to have a massive, massive operation that is really almost impossible to check every single one of those pieces and get something through the system. So I don't think it's really fair to the system and the people who run the system to say, oh, I can get by this one little piece. It's got to be the entire kit and caboodle all the way through. And that's the real understanding, I think, that a lot of people came away from these audits and from these last couple of years. This has been a slow rolling civics exercise and lesson in how we run our elections. And that's why I'm still very happy to be part of this conversation, because the more people learn about all of the pieces and parts and checks and balances all the way through, the more they really appreciate the fact that our elections are in pretty doggone good shape, no matter what a couple of naysayers are, just because they benefit from the politics of grievance. That's not where I operate from. I trust the people that run our systems. They do a great job, whether they're checking voters in at a polling place or checking those signatures that you were talking about. And I think we got to not lose focus on those folks, the ones who actually do the work.
Yeah, and I think, if anyone out there just wants to have a better, fuller picture, John Hook did a really phenomenal piece where he got to see the inner workings of this system. And I really encourage folks to look into that if you want to learn more and have this slow rolling civics lesson. And Mr. Secretary, I just also want to ask you, what is your take? Do you actually think this is possible, what the president is trying to put out there? Or do you think that this is more of a trial balloon where he's trying to see if it'll stick and reaction to what he's saying?
Well, look, I'm a red-blooded American just like anybody else. And in this country, anything is possible, whether it's prudent, whether it's sensible, and whether it's responsible. Those are different questions. But the reality is this. I've got some serious doubts about where we are going with this entire exercise. And let's just look at the evidence of what's happening here. Well before the election, and multiple times, the president said that if you elect me, you'll never have to vote again. At the end of January and into February, he stopped allowing CISA, one of our critical security partners under the Department of Homeland Security. They could no longer talk to us, and they let a whole bunch of folks go. Then he sent the Department of Justice after Chris Krebs, the former director of CISA, in a criminal investigation because of some wrongs that he perceived, that the president perceived, not that the Department of Justice perceived.
Not to interrupt you here, Secretary, but we only got about 10 seconds left here. We got to wrap up.
Well, then we've got the executive order, and now we've got this other balloon. I think if you track all of that evidence, you've got a much bigger problem